Hi, I'm Terry Brock with Relationship Marketing U, and we're talking about building relationships and what it means, and part of that is understanding what environment the other person is operating in. And today I want to share with you some real wisdom that I've seen from a friend of mine, Sharon Drew Morgen. She is a person that is well known for helping to look at a different way of selling that works very effectively, and she's joining us now from her offices in Austin, Texas. Sharon Drew, thank you very much for being with us.
Hi, Terry. It's a pleasure. I'm excited, actually.
Yeah, well, me too, because I really like what you're talking about. When you and I were on the phone a while back, we were talking about the way that you approach selling and the way that you do it, and it's a different way. Matter of fact, your book, I love your books. Selling with Integrity was one of them. I love the title of this one. Listen, folks, this, Why Buyers Can't Buy and Sellers Can't Sell and What You Can Do About It. Sharon Drew has a way of looking at things from a different point of view that you go, well, I never thought of it that way, but it really works. And so that's why I wanted to have her on here, to be able to talk to us about that and how her idea behind the scenes of the decision path. When we go behind the scenes of the decision path, first of all, what do you mean by that when someone's making a decision about buying?
Well, first of all, let me just say that the sales model does a phenomenal job at placing a solution. And obviously, it's vital for you to have a good relationship as you're placing your solution. The problem is we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes, outside of our purview, and within the buyer's culture and environment.
Right.
And we usually sit and wait and hope for the low-hanging fruit to fall and never know when the buyer's going to call to buy, because we're only focusing on the solution placement and the need, which sales does and does a fine job at. We don't know what the heck is going on behind the scenes, if sales and marketing are not talking to each other, if the tech guy is having a problem outsourcing and getting someone to project lead so they can bring in your solution. We don't know if learning and development are fighting with HR and they share budgets so they can't bring your material in. We don't know that end because it's hidden from us, really behind the scenes. So the material I developed, buying facilitation, leads the buyer through all those decision issues down a decision path that's usually behind the scenes. And I'm suggesting that to differentiate yourself as a relationship manager, if we can do a phenomenal job facilitating the decision path, we have another competitive advantage.
And that competitive advantage would be?
The competitive advantage is that you're moving into the decision path far earlier. There are 13 steps in the buying decision, starting with an idea through to the assembling of the whole buying decision team that involves people you probably would never know as a salesperson. And then step 10 is where they start choosing their vendor and solution. So they're doing 9 things without us, and we're not privy to that. If we can start earlier, if we can start with 1 or 2 or 3 people and help them bring together the whole buying decision team, we now have a wonderful relationship, and we've become an invaluable asset. So by the time they get to choose the vendor, we're already there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we need to look at the bigger picture. It's one of the things I really liked about what you said is we're going to look at the bigger picture. Of course, you lay this out in your book in great detail. For right now, just kind of from a big surface level, we don't want to get down into all that detail right now. It'd be good to buy. Matter of fact, those of you watching, I encourage you to get Sharon Drew's book. Take a look at what is there because it'll really help you as you study that. But for right now, just from a big picture point of view, what are some ways that we can penetrate into that account so we can be able to form the relationships and start working with them? Some tips that you have found that work very well through the years.
One of the things that we do as salespeople is assume that if we give really good service and we're really kind and knowledgeable and focused on the buyer, that is the basis of a good relationship. And one of the problems is that everyone seems to be doing that. Not everyone, but a lot of people seem to be doing that these days. But imagine if you understood the whole system and culture that you're selling into, which most sellers will not. And you can start off by even helping the receptionist or the gatekeeper figure out how to bring you in as somebody who can add value. So I start at the very beginning. I actually still make cold calls today. I don't make 70 anymore, but I do make a few. And I'll start off with a receptionist and say something like, how are you currently adding new sales skills to the ones you're already using so that your sales folks are really successful? So instead of saying, hi, can I talk to somebody? I have a wonderful solution. In other words, being solution fix focused. I start off with helping them be excellent. So my focus is helping them figure out how and when and why it's time to achieve excellence. And then I start using this facilitative question that I use as part of my buying facilitation method. And I teach them how to bring together all the right people very quickly. So I become an invaluable asset right at the beginning from the first call.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you're looking at an environment where there's maybe multiple people involved in a decision making. What about if you're talking with just one person? You've got a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, someone who is maybe an author, and you want to communicate with this one author. That's the only person there. What would be some very important rules that you have found that work well for connecting one-on-one, only one person in the entire company?
At the end of the day, that one person still has values, beliefs, history, old vendors. They still have decision issues that they have to address separate and apart from choosing you as their vendor. So you could start with something like, how are you currently choosing or adding new vendors for those times you might want help with X? Mm-hmm. So you're focusing on the choices that they're making and how they're going to use you rather than how terrific you are. It might be subtle, but it's a very big distinction. Now, I'll give you a little example of a client that I was coaching who was selling a GPS cart. It was a golf cart with a GPS system back in the day when they were new. And my client thought this was he was the owner of the golf course, and he thought he was dealing with only one decision maker. And they were talking for like a year. And when I got involved, I listened to a call, and they loved each other. I mean, this one owner and this one salesperson, they were having a wonderful conversation. So when he got off the phone, I said, why isn't he buying? It sounds like the two of you are doing a great job together. And he said, well, I don't know. And he's the only decision maker. So I called the guy after having made a bet with my client that my client you lost. I called him and I said, I'm new, I'm a trainee. I know you have a great relationship with Joseph and that you love the product. What's stopping you from being able to buy? And he said, the groundskeeper would kill me because he thinks the cart will break if the GPS breaks down.
Interesting.
So there was a behind the scenes decision. Sorry, I have pneumonia. I actually do have pneumonia.
Oh, it's okay. We want you to get better.
There was a behind the scenes decision that was being made outside the purview of the relationship with my client. So no matter how good that relationship was, and it was terrific, it still didn't address all the decision issues he had to manage. So when we were able to help him help the groundskeeper decide, then my relationship with him became invaluable and he was able to purchase.
Excellent. I love that because as you told me that story, it made me realize often we think we're doing the right thing. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to give good service. I'm going to do it. That's all that's involved. Well, no. In the real world, there's all this other. There's a groundskeeper that's also involved, so to speak, in every decision, even with one individual. And I think those are the important things that we need to realize as relationship marketers, as relationship farmers. There's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of moving balls out there, and we need to know about them. And so, Sharon Drew, we want to find out how we can get more information about this. You've got a lot of good books. You go and you speak different places. Someone says, okay, I want to get more information. Real slowly, tell us, how can we get in touch with you?
Sharon Drew at SharonDrewMorgen.com. Go on to Dirty Little Secrets book and read the first 2 chapters for free of the Dirty Little Secrets book you mentioned earlier. I really apologize, folks.
Oh, that's okay. And by the way, those of you that are watching, she is doing this even though she got pneumonia. I said, well, we can do it later. And she went ahead. I want you to know what kind of person this, kind of behind the scenes. Sharon Drew is a wonderful person, even with pneumonia and coughing and all that. And she's got a throbbing headache right now, too. I'm just going to say that. Look what she's doing. A consummate professional coming through so well and still doing that. So those of you that are watching this, I don't ever want to hear you say, oh, no, I can't do that video. I don't feel well today. No, think of Sharon Drew and how you're doing it.
I have a responsibility when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I have to go speak on the stage tomorrow. So Sharon Drew at SharonDrewMorgen.com. Go to the site, Buying Facilitation. I do keynote speeches. And if you want to read a whole bunch of articles, there's 500 articles on SharonDrewMorgen.com that talk about the difference between selling and buying, that talk about why a prospect isn't necessarily a prospect because they have a need. A prospect is somebody who will buy, not someone who should buy. And that's the sort of article I have on SharonDrewMorgen.com. So think about the difference between selling and buying. Think if you want to add a skill set to your current sales model and facilitate the buying decision, and then become a real relationship manager during the entire 13 steps of the buying decision. Don't just keep it on the solution placement end. Do it from the very beginning and really be there for your clients.
Absolutely. Well, Sharon Drew, thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate it. Looking forward to getting more material from you in the future. And you take care of yourself and get healed, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.